with you. Flip a doujin in the bed, I'm reading manga till it's 2. Tell me that you love us if I go, I'm knowing that it's true. Cause you acting all moe and vanilla in my view. So this is for them waifus, straight 2D flex in my life, fool. If you fuck with him, tell you my dude. Let the beat right out, keep it nice and smooth, yo. Hello?
Should you tell me what the topics are, or should I just... You know what? We're just going to wing it. Just wing it.
We're not going to wing it. I told you what the topics were.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Weeaboos, the anime podcast where some of the most unqualified people try to answer your anime questions. I'm Hunter.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Kyle.
We have a new sound set up.
All right.
Yes, we do.
It's extra sexy.
Yeah, so we bought new mics.
And a mixer.
And a mixer. We're professionals now.
Yeah, super pro.
So hopefully you can tell a difference.
And if not, we wasted a lot of money.
Yeah, we did. So
Some of us more than others.
Kyle. I like my mic.
It's nice.
It is a nice mic.
In previous episodes...
We're drinking.
Oh my... I always forget.
Today we are drinking... Well, first of all, what did you make us in those little red Solo cups?
Yeah, before we started, I made... like a peach Arnold Palmer with peach vodka, but I got the lemonade from like a farmer's market. It was like homemade, I guess. It was really good.
We have agreed that it is a dangerous drink because it doesn't taste like there's actually any alcohol in it. So we decided to finish those, and now we're having beers. We are having Odell Brewing Company from Fort Collins, and it is a India Pale Ale. Me and Kyle both really like it, but we like IPAs. And
Sam, you're not the biggest fan, right?
Sam, what do you think?
I'm not a huge IPA fan, but like as far as IPAs go, it's actually not bad.
I'd say it's kind of close to Moon Juice IPA from Santan Brewing Company.
Yeah.
So it's
maybe a little less bitter, but
yeah. It's one of my, one of the IPAs I've liked more. Anyway, what are we talking about?
So, in previous episodes, we've compared truly great anime to anime that's just entertaining. We've talked about what makes a classic anime, and I want to talk a little bit about the essence or the nature of favorites. So how do you guys differentiate favorites from best or simply entertaining?
Well, I think that best is more objective and favorites is subjective. So something that is the best that it has to offer, I don't necessarily have to like, but I can respect that it is groundbreaking or really well done.
Right.
Or whatever that might be. Whereas my favorite could be some like guilty pleasure trash.
Okay.
The exact same thing. Yeah, like a favorite is something where you know a show you're watching has flaws, but you either overlook the flaws, like you just don't care about it, or sometimes you like the flaws more. Sometimes a flaw in a show makes it more charming.
Right.
And you'll like it for that reason.
Sure. I think a favorite is just something you immediately know. I don't want to get too poetic, but it's like recognizing a favorite is kind of like falling in love. There's this unexplainable attraction to what you're watching. You can't help but like it. And obviously it appeals to you personally and in a very...
Right. You can look past stuff like... You can see some horrible cliche and be like, yeah, that didn't happen. This is the best show ever.
Sure, it almost encourages you to embrace bias. Like popularity aside, like you just need to love this thing.
Right. Like it has to screw up really bad for you to start disliking it. Like you will let it get away with so much stuff. Same thing with your previous analogy of being in love. Like, let's say your friend like chews gum and smacks really loud and you fucking hate that. But you find this girl and she's really cute and she smacks gum and you're like, it doesn't happen. Nope. She's perfect.
But one thing I did want to mention is I think it's important to note that I think favorites are meant to change. I don't think that they necessarily have to, but unlike best anime, favorites are not timeless. They're fluid. They represent your current taste. They're very in the present.
Do you not think like favorites of all time are timeless? Because there are some favorites where...
Favorites of all time? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think
there are certain favorites that will always be your favorite.
Right. I said they don't have to change, but I'm just saying
okay.
But
they
I think
can.
what Kyle's saying, like when I was watching the, spring season, or I guess summer season, ReZero was my favorite thing I was watching. It is no longer anything that I would consider a favorite.
Right.
But it was a favorite of that time.
Totally. So, why are favorites such a big deal? Why are they important to us? What makes them meaningful?
Well, one thing is that they could be unique. Like, let's say I like The Best Show, something that a lot of people consider. Like, I have some hipster tendencies.
Right.
So it's like if I have a favorite that not a lot of people know about, I like that more because
Makes you
it's
feel
like
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get that hipster vibe to it.
I think your question's kind of loaded.
Yeah.
In the sense where you said what makes them meaningful? That's a loaded question because there's no answer. Like, it's different for each person.
It can be, yeah.
The same way you can have a different favorite show. Each person has favorite shows. The same way you can have favorite characters in similar shows. And it's because of relatability. You attach yourself to a common theme in the show or a character. And when something is so, when it relates to you that much, you are drawn towards it.
Yeah. I think they're really important because they define you. It's kind of what you said. They're like a personification of yourself. Like, if you watch my hypothetical list of my top 10 anime, I feel like you'll know me better than anyone could, which is why I actually used to have like a fear or aversion to the concept of favorites. Two things really helped me get over this hostility I had towards favorites and top 10s. One is what I previously mentioned, how tastes are like constantly changing, and that I always think favorites are in the present tense, and also is the idea that a fair number of favorites should equal 10% of what you've seen, not just a top 10 total. Now, a while ago, I know you're giving me a weird look, but think about it. A while ago, someone sent me a link to a video by an anime YouTuber who goes by Digibro, who referenced this idea. And hearing him say that was such a huge relief to me. Like, I always thought it was so unfair that regardless of how much anime you've seen, everyone is restricted to a top 10. We love this concept of a top 10.
It's like the BuzzFeed style.
Exactly. It would be so simple for you guys who've seen 20 to 30 anime to pick a top 10, but now if I apply myself, okay,
we haven't seen 20 to 30.
okay, 50. Is
Okay,
that fair?
50? That's almost double. Like,
Okay.
It's like a
Anyways,
small amount.
But like for me, if I apply this, like I can have 10% of favorites of the amount I've seen. That gives me 80 to 90 favorites, not a top 10.
yeah.
Like, imagine how much of a relief that is. And I just think it's so much more fair.
So one thing that you mentioned kind of stood out was that there were like favorites that you didn't want to tell people. You didn't want people to know that they were your favorites.
Not
Is that kind of going back to
I've had people say the same thing. There have been people who I said, what's your favorite song? And they didn't want to answer it because it was too personal to them.
Right, it's not
because they
because
said
it's
it's so revealing. Like, if you tell someone what your favorite song is, or you tell someone what your favorite show is, if that song or show is about something specific, suddenly you know something very intimate about that person.
Think about how much you reveal if someone's like, "Oh, you watch anime? That's awesome. What's your favorite anime?" And you're like, "Keijo." Like, that says something about
that-
you.
it changes a lot.
Versus if you say, "Oh, I really like Attack on Titan,"
yeah,
or
like
something that people would consider the best.
like I used to watch a lot of anime with my sister, and I never showed her Fooly Cooly because I felt like it was way too personal because I liked it so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it almost sounds weird to say like people don't understand, but like if somebody that watches a lot of anime, and I was like, I really like K-On! I think K-On's one of my favorite shows. They'd be like, oh yeah, dude, K-On's great. But if someone that like maybe knows a little bit about anime and they like find out that you like it, that's not the first thing that you drop. Like, even if it's socially acceptable and no one cares, the first thing you say is, I really like watching 12-year-old girls play rock music. That gets me going.
Yeah.
Like, there's some stuff that you like. Yeah, favorites are a much more personal list than what you say is the best, because the best stuff you don't even have to have watched.
Exactly. So what makes something a favorite for you personally? And if you have any, what are some of your favorites?
Well, I already revealed K-on's one of my favorites. I guess they're like 16, 17. I guess they're not 12, but still, the thing stands. Like, if you said you liked Madoka Magica, that's my favorite show, man. It's like, oh, what's it about? 14-year-old girls that do magic. But it's more than that, I swear.
No, wait, come back. Don't walk away.
So K-on's one of my favorites. I don't think I have any favorites that I would find like embarrassing to reveal besides that. Like, that's the only one that I would say, like, I really like this, but I don't think that everyone I meet should know that. Like, anything other that I would consider my favorite would also be considered some of the best, that anime has to offer, like Full Metal, Steins Gate, like Gurren Lagann even. Like, some people would consider that some of the best, even if not everyone. Sam likes it.
Oh, sorry.
You never finished it.
I realize now that there was a time skip, and maybe I should have watched until... Apparently, I was only like one episode away from the time skip happening.
Yeah.
But even if you watched up until the time skip, like, those...
Couldn't stand it.
Well, the show failed if it didn't keep you hooked up until that time skip, because that's some of the most, like, intense moments of the show.
Yeah, then it failed. Failed miserably.
Exactly. For you.
For you.
For me.
So, Sam?
Gurren Lagann's my anti-favorite.
That's
They're
weird.
the worst show ever made.
Not the worst show, but it's my anti-favorite.
What about Bakemono?
That's his guilty pleasure. We've covered this.
No, it's not a guilty pleasure.
Sam likes it,
Loves-
but he won't admit it.
No, I don't like it. I hate it. I fucking hate it. It's such a snarky
No.
show to me.
Here's what Sam said to me after we watched the Bakemono movie. I hate that I like it so much. That's what he said.
I did not say so much. I
Okay,
said I hate that I like it.
Okay.
I don't
Is
want to
that not
like
the
it.
definition of a guilty pleasure?
No, guilty pleasure is something you don't want to admit you like, not something that to other people. To other people.
So, Sam, what makes a favorite to you? Do you have any quality? Like, is there a quality of an anime?
So for me, a favorite, it's always been about characters, and I've harped on character development in at least 50%
What did I say
of
in our solo episode? If Sam was here, he'd be like, I love character development.
That's not a bad thing to like.
Yeah, no, like to me that's just the most important thing, because I think any story revolves around the characters, and to me, my favorite shows typically have characters that either have just have a lot of depth to them. Shows like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, where every character is so well fleshed out, I loved. That's a favorite of mine. Noragami, which is, yeah, I know it's like a mediocre show, and I'll admit that it's not the greatest show. I love the characters so much, and they all have such a unique relationship that I would rank it amongst my favorites. Maybe not one of my first immediate to recommend to others, but as far as a personal favorite, I adore that show.
Okay. For me, I know I've mentioned this before, but something incredibly important to me is that an anime shows uniqueness or originality in some way. Even if it isn't like that good of a show, if it tries something incredibly different and just stands out in some aspect, any aspect, I get really attached, or I really appreciate that type of show. And it's much more likely for a unique anime to become a favorite of mine, which is why Masaki Yuasa is one of my favorite directors. Everything he makes is so different in the way it looks and the story itself.
It's the hipster vibe, dude.
I
You have
guess.
the bug.
No, sure, whatever. Another aspect that I really like about some of my favorite anime, they tend to not give a lot of context to the audience, meaning you're thrown into this world, and whether or not the protagonist knows what's going on in this world, you, as a viewer, don't know really what's going on. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, some of the stuff that you've really liked, like...
I'd like an example.
Well, I think that both Perfect Blue and Angel's Eggs are a good example of this. Like, Angel's Egg, you have no idea what's going on right when it starts. There's very little
Sure.
context given, and there's very little story given except from through visuals and actions of characters. Like, there's nothing really... I mean, there's, of course, some parts, but very little of the story is explicitly told to you. It's left up to interpretation. And Perfect Blue is a little bit different, but you have a lot of stuff, or even Paprika. You're thrown into a world where you have no idea what's going on, and it gets explained at the end, but
Yeah.
throughout the show you get little snippets of it.
Sam, you asked for an example from me, and I guess something that came to mind was Evangelion. With Evangelion, it starts off where it just starts with an angel attack. You see this giant creature destroying a city, and Shinji's like trying to call Misato on like a payphone as the city's being attacked, and as if he knows what's going on. And we never get like an incredibly thorough explanation of why these angels are attacking, like maybe not until the end. And it's never really about the angels, it's about the life of Shinji and Asuka and Rei and how they're trying to survive. And that's kind of what I mean by being thrown into this world and not getting a lot of context. Because the creator, the author knows what they want to say. So the story, like, it's not flawed in any way. But to us, we need to work really hard to understand what's going on. So do you guys have any other, things to say about like why our top 10 list so popular? Do you have like any favorites you want to share?
I think top 10 lists are just popular because it's a nice looking number. Like, if you're a reader and someone's like, this is my top 57 anime, you're like, that is way too long. I'm not reading through that.
Not just that though. 10, yes, is like a nice comfortable sized number. You can absorb 10 of anything. But I think the only reason why people care at all about what somebody else's favorite is because they want to know how they compare. Like, are my favorites your favorites? If I find out that what you find to be your favorite is also my favorite, now we relate on some, like we've already said, really intimate level. And it's really cool when somebody says, my favorite of this is the same thing as you, because now we are suddenly the same. I was going to say Butts take a drink, but I also hit the mic. So it's like Butts and Mike.
So you take 2 drinks and we'll take 1.
Sure.
Ayo.
Well, it's also like, I think people look at top 10 lists to get an idea of what they should watch. Oh, I haven't watched this thing that this guy has decided out of all of the anime that he's watched, this ranks among the top 10 that he's watched, especially for someone like you, Kyle. If you had 900 anime that you've watched and you put out a top 10 list, like, holy shit, this is like the top 2% of what this dude's ever watched.
That's why it's so scary. I can't do that. That's why I like having what I talked about, like 10% of what I've watched as favorites.
Right. So I think that's why they're popular, because you don't want to, like, I would, if I saw a top 50, I'd be like, fuck that. That is so much
That's
work.
like all the anime.
That's all I've watched. My top 50 list would be everything I've watched.
Right. Well, anything else, Sam? No? Okay. Let's move on to questions. So we have a follow-up question from what we talked about last week. Picarius asks, do you think that being able to transfer consciousness justifies Motoko Kusanagi being played by Scarlett Johansson?
Are you talking about the fact that, like, people are mad that she's, like, clearly white?
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
Asian?
Uh-huh.
I would say that's a very complicated way to ask it. I guess that's one way to justify it. I see nothing wrong with Scarlett Johansson playing the character regardless. But if you need a justification for why a white person is playing it, sure, why not?
Right. I don't think anyone had that in mind when choosing Scarlett Johansson. They didn't say, we'll choose you, and then have this, like, plot loophole, be a justification for it. I do not think that's the case.
I think the big thing is that if, as a movie director, you're saying, all right, who can I put in that will not only play the role the best, but also get the most people to come and watch this? Scarlett Johansson's a good actor. Scarlett Johansson's also very attractive. This will get the most people to come view this movie. Even some people that have no idea what Ghost in the Shell is, because they see Scarlett Johansson, a very well-known name, written across the top of the poster.
A little while ago, I also asked for some, like, any questions, whether they're anime or personal. So we did get a question from Miyazawa Hibiki saying, hi Kyle, I hope you are doing well, and I'm from a South American country. I want to know the color of your eyes and if you are studying. So let's, oh goodness, you took off my glasses, I can't see. You opened my eyes, what?
I needed to know that he's not lying about the color.
I'm brown, I have brown eyes.
He's not brown, but his eyes are brown.
It's true, I just saw him.
Yes, very intimately. So yes, I have brown eyes. How about you guys? What?
I believe I have blue, technically, but they're not like a bright, like royal or like a robin's egg blue. They're
Sure.
kind of muted.
Sure. They look maybe a little bit green
Yeah.
from in this light. Anyways, Sam?
I have almost entirely brown eyes, and the very outsides of my eyes are like a dark green, but you can really only tell in the light.
Okay. What are you studying, or are you studying?
Computer engineering for me. Kyle graduated, though.
Yeah, I graduated. I do graphic design stuff. Hunter?
I am a computer science major, but I don't graduate until next semester. So May of 2017.
Yeah.
Go down in history that date.
Do you want to talk about what we're watching?
No.
That's what I thought.
I didn't see anything that I was super interested in watching this season.
Okay.
I tried the first episode of some stuff, but nothing caught my attention. And what we talked about was like the 3-episode rule, and Sam kind of agreed with me of if the first episode, whose goal as a pilot episode is to be extra grabby and try to make you want to watch the show, if it failed at that, why should I trust it to get better? So
Okay. Well, I think a little while ago I said rather than talking about a ton of things all at once, I'd spend a little bit more time talking about one thing each week. And something I had not mentioned yet is an anime called Girlish Number that's currently airing. I'm caught up with it. I might be like one episode behind. And if no one knows really what it is, it's essentially the opposite of Shirobako, if you've watched Shirobako. Shirobako was an anime about the anime industry. It showed how anime is made, and it was the story of these kind of like young and upcoming different production artists and producers and directors and all that stuff. But it had a lot of cameos to like actual people in the industry and things like that. It was one of the best anime of last year. Now, Girlish Number is essentially the opposite of that. It's showing the bad and negative side of the anime industry to a very
So like overworked people getting paid like really low.
yeah, like all the main characters are like extremely bitchy towards each other. It's just like the director is like scum. He's like just trying to get money and all that stuff. And the director of the show actually, like, I think it's kind of like a personal story too, because he worked on the show that was just went horribly because he was like forced to work on a light novel adaptation, which is what they're working on in the show. And it's basically trying to say that we're tired of working on shows that don't have any creativity, you know?
Like the cookie cutter, like Love Live.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing. And although that message is really cool, I feel like the director got lost in that message, and now that the story's more than halfway over, he doesn't really know how to write the characters or like finish the story. You know, he got so lost in the social commentary that there's not really that much of a plot left, which is a little disappointing because it had a cool concept. So
I think there's a lot of anime that struggle with that. Like they'll have a really cool concept and they'll just like have no idea how to finish a story. I actually think that that's kind of some of the reason you have these 300 episode anime.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe eventually it'll come to you, but like how do you feel about the ending of Bleach? Like he had no idea how to finish it, and then
No, that's not true. That's complicated.
okay, whatever. But the idea that like I don't know, say One Piece, like do you think if it ended tomorrow you'd feel relieved or sad?
And that's a hard question because for a really long time, and it kind of contradicts what you were saying, the author has said like he always knew how he wanted it to end.
Oh, really?
And he knows exactly how far it is. He says like I'm exactly 75% done with One Piece.
Okay. I retract my statement.
But like he might be a rare exception. He's kind of a genius in some regards. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week. Feel free to send us questions and episode topics or just opinions on whatever you're watching to us at the Weeaboos on Twitter or at theweeaboos@gmail.com, or you can send questions to me at Secret Otaku on Tumblr. If you reblog or share our episodes, we'll give you a shout out. And if you have the time, please give us an iTunes review. It really helps us out. We want to thank Hentai Dude for our intro music and Kidbu for our outro music. And like always, get
Drunk.
and
anime. See you guys next week.
You can catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho-Oh in that tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze, sacred fire. Don't be mad, I'm lit. Catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho-Oh in that tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze, sacred fire. Don't be mad, I'm lit.
You look like you're about to drop a sick beat. Pen pineapple, apple pen.
long pin. Oh no, it's pen. No, long pin. Apple pineapple. Pin pineapple, apple pin.